You're tuned in to Floridian Rollo. I'm your host, Floridian Rollo, and I'm coming at you with a late night stream. What's up, people? What's up? What's up? What's up? You already know what it is. That you into the building. Make sure you hit the like button on your way in. All right, we're gonna get right to it. This is the finale. Before I get to the finale, let me make some adjustments right now. Let me make sure everything's good. Hold on 1 second. I gotta check one more thing before I start this content. Let me check it out real quickly. I want to make sure I got it correctly. Okay, it's all set. Everything is on point. All right. Yeah, we'll see how many people come in the building for this one. You know, there's a lot of altercation going on in Chicago. There's a lot of altercation going on in LA, Oakland, New York. The list goes on. We're going to deal with this clown mayor of Chicago. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's trying to combat the situation that's going on in Chicago. Chicago is a mess, y'all. Chicago is a mess. You couldn't pay me to go to Chicago, all right? There's no amount of money they could get me to go to Chicago. That place is done. Just like NYC is done. Many of these Ibarasi places is done. All right, let's listen to what this Ibarasi newscast from Philadelphia has to say. That place also is a mess. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the thing to clear. Hopefully y'all can hear me because my thing is acting up. It seems like the Ibarasi folks are trying to mess with my computer. I should be back right now. Let me do this again. Yeah, I'm back, y'all. They trying to attack my channel. They're trying to attack my channel because I'm going to speak some truth. So let's hear what this Ibarasi at the Philadelphia news station has to say of the matter at hand. Let me get this ready. All right, there we go. Let me get it set up. All right. Now, we get right to it, shall we? Let's go.
Chicago is warning President Trump not to send National Guard troops to the city. Meanwhile, some former top health officials are sounding the alarm about Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Correspondent Torian Small has the latest from the White House.
Go.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago.
At a Labor Day event, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson blasted the Trump administration's possible plans to send in the National Guard to the Windy City to help reduce violent crime.
We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago.
Before leaving the White House to play golf, President Trump posted on social media Monday praising the mayor of Washington, D.C., where he deployed National Guard troops and urged officials in Chicago and other cities to do the same. The Trump administration is also receiving new pushback in the wake of last week's shakeup at the CDC. Following the firing of CDC Director Susan Menarez and departure of several other top officials, 9 former directors and acting directors of the agency wrote an op-ed published in the New York Times Monday. The group of both.
So President Trump has let go of the former person in charge of CDC. Let's go back. Let's rewind the video. Listen, it's getting really interesting. There's no wonder there's some things shaking up right now. Now I see why. Listen again.
Back in the wake of last week's shakeup at the CDC. Following the firing of CDC.
They're using Brainwaves Advice Topic LLC talking points: shake up, make up, break up, wake up. Listen again.
Other cities to do the same. The Trump administration is also receiving new pushback in the wake of last week's shakeup at the CDC. Following the firing of CDC Director Susan Menarez and departure of several other top officials, 9 former directors and acting directors of the agency wrote an op-ed published in the New York Times Monday. The group of both Republicans and Democratic appointees raised concerns about Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s oversight of the department and the CDC, writing, quote, "We are worried about the wide-ranging impact that all these decisions will have on America's health security."
You see, there's a lot of this going on because Kennedy knows that a lot of things are not what it ought to be in this country. There needs to be some investigation going on. People got to be on point. Let's continue.
Adding, quote, "This is unacceptable and it should alarm every American regardless of political leanings."
They want to see Congress exercise its oversight authority over HHS, and that would include calling a hearing to interrogate Secretary Kennedy as to what is happening and why.
The CDC upheaval comes ahead of the meeting scheduled for later this month of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, which makes recommendations to the CDC about vaccines. Torian Small, CBS News, the White House.
All right, let's get to it.
All right, 19 minutes before the top of the hour, Illinois lawmakers continue to push back against President Trump sending the National Guard to Chicago. Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson, very unpopular, saying this, quote, "I urge our federal government to listen to the advocates, experts, and Chicagoans who are calling for resources that stop the endless flow of guns, and as well as transformational investing in housing, education, mental health, and community safety. These are the same investments that are leading to historic reductions in crime and violence throughout the recent years."
Listen, you had all that money resided and y'all spend it on other things that's not fabricated to your promise. Look at this Edomite demon, devil, mayor. Let's go.
But take a look at this timeline over the weekend where the city saw 36 shootings that left 6 people dead. That's progress. We're joined now by Kata Truss. She's a longtime Chicago resident and community roundtable director. So what the mayor's pointing to is murder being down 50%, robbery down 50%. But there are some really disturbing numbers when it comes to carjacking and other areas like burglary.
The lies that he gonna say, the mayor that is, the demonic mayor, the Illuminati mayor, all right? Now she gonna go in. Let's continue.
Being up, felony theft being up 46%, misdemeanor theft up 61%, and motor vehicle theft 80%. So Kata, tell me, do you guys need help?
We absolutely need help, and I've been a Chicago resident all my life. I live in the Austin community where I've lived for the last 40 years. Earlier this year, my husband was carjacked right in front of our house. And so if you ask me, if you ask any victim of a violent crime how they feel about crime in the city of Chicago, any of us will tell you that we are not safe, that we don't feel safe. We don't feel that our police department is doing enough. And whether it's because of resources or the amount.
Look at the wall hanging out. Bunch of orangutans, dangutangs hanging out in Chicago. Look at this.
Of money that the city is spending or has to spend on violence prevention. I can't necessarily speak to that. I'm sure that more money would help, but I'm not even sure if I want to see more money come here, considering the misuse of the monies that this government has had thus far.
I'm glad she said that. I'm going to rewind that again. She said what I just said. She said what I just said. I'm with you 100% on this. Let's go.
I can't necessarily speak to that. I'm sure that more money would help, but I'm not even sure if I want to see more money come here, considering the misuse of the monies that this government has had thus far. I also saw a video of Governor Pritzker walking along the lakefront.
Yes.
Look at this, y'all. Look at this at McDonald's. Got the gun pointed to her. Nothing they could do. Let's continue.
In the city of Chicago, talking about how peaceful it was. But I urge him, walk down 79th Street, walk down Chicago Avenue, walk down Central Avenue where I live, and then tell me that you feel the same way. Or more importantly, Governor Pritzker and Brandon Johnson both have security details. If Chicago is so safe, as I heard Brandon Johnson say a couple of weeks ago, Chicago was one of the safest cities in America, why do you have a security detail? Why don't you get rid of it? You know,
Good point. Good point. She's absolutely correct. Let's continue.
Brandon Johnson was a strong component for defunding the police before he became mayor. I don't see him talking about that now. Those talking points are not a part of what you hear him saying. And so also talk to those people, those business owners who are being robbed weekly and are afraid to open their businesses, don't know if their business are going to be able to survive because they're constantly being robbed. Ask those people how they feel about crime here in Chicago.
I like this lady. I like this lady, what she stands for. Let's continue.
Those 3 senior citizens who were gunned down in front of their senior building a couple of weeks ago, how they feel about violent crime in the city of Chicago. And so for our elected officials to stand and to say that the city is safe and that the crime is not that bad is a myth. Also, I looked at a study.
Yeah.
You see what they do? When you speak the truth, you get cut off. You get cut off. The entities and deities is pissed off. She was speaking some truth.
She just dropped off. We're going to get her back in a second. She doesn't even need me here. I can understand how excited and how upset she is when someone says everything's safe and your husband was carjacked a few weeks ago. Someone says someone's safe. Take a look at this. This is Chicago's weekend shootings. I just want you to say, look, see the yellow dots? Those are all the shootings took place 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 10:15. This guy's telling everybody safe. And the red dots are the deaths, the shootings that result.
Do y'all see that? Do y'all see that? Do y'all see the nonsense that's going on? You know, let's continue.
In the deaths, they are between 12 to 13,000 more cops. They need 12 to 13,000 more, and he's refusing free help from the federal government. Incredible.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to.
Goes to show you what's going on. Goes to show you what's going on. Hold on one second. Let me remove this. Let me continue to do what I do. Let me get the one. With the town hall meeting. Let's get right to it. Oh, this is 8 months ago. Oh. Okay. I need something recent. I don't need that. This is recent. This is 8 months ago too. Oh, so these videos are 8 months ago. Let's get to the recent. Yeah, let's get to 2 months ago. Let's get to the recent one. Okay. Let's get right to it. I want you to see this before we get to the content of Leaving the Blue States. This is part of Leaving the Blue States. All right? Let's listen to what he has to say.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott and Don. What a show indeed. Let me set the scene for you as well as for our viewers. Mayor Christopher Clark was not playing any games. He warned attendees in advance if there were any disruptions at tonight's meeting that he would indeed kick everyone out of the meeting, and that's exactly what happened. Take a look at tonight's city council meeting. Harvey residents once again frustrated with Mayor Christopher Clark's practices, calling them, quote, illegal, unfair, and unjust. The room packed with supporters of Second Ward Alderwoman Colby Chapman. I'll tell you why shortly. Now, during public comments, residents asked for transparency on spending. They complained about water bill increases without notification. They also said their rights to address concerns were being censored. Mayor Clark cleared the packed room about 20 minutes in after someone began clapping.
We cannot have a say-so. We cannot show emotion. We have to sit here and act as if we do not care about anything that anybody says.
You can't have a voice. They don't want you to speak up with the injustice that's happening in the black community. They're displacing us out of our communities. They're taking our homes.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? That's what's going on over there in Chicago. They're being replaced. They're being replaced right now. They're being replaced and they're being removed. This is what's going on right now. As we speak, let's go.
I don't like it. I'll be frank, I don't like it, but what I would like...
You don't like what? What don't you like?
I don't like the fact that there's so much disruption and we're not able to take care of city business.
And take a look at the cell phone video now viral on social media. Second Ward Alderwoman Colby Chapman being physically removed by Harvey police during a council meeting last month.
Wow. Wow. Look what happened to this lady. Look what happened to this lady here. You see what's going on? Look at this demonic demon. That's a demonic demon right there.
The fact that there's so much disruption and we're not able to take care of city business.
And take a look at the cell phone video now viral on social media. Second Ward Alderwoman Colby Chapman being physically removed by Harvey police during a council meeting last month. She says officers bruised her arms in the process. Chapman was trying to address the mayor about a resident's property being sold, but Mayor Clark would not acknowledge her, saying she was out of order. Chapman and her mother were arrested and later charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. The Alderwoman...
Wow. Wow. You see what they're doing to the women over there? You see what they're doing to the women over there? You see that? Get the money and get out of that region. Get the money, sue their behinds, and get out of that region.
Herself was also charged with battery. Mayor Clark saying she hit the officer during the arrest.
I don't think that it's a good look for an alderperson to hit law enforcement officers. And I think that that's one of the stories here that need to be taken care of, because the simple fact is what she did. I don't think that she belongs in this position. The bottom line is she's an activist. She wants to be the man and fight against the man.
Do you see the disrespect? They're okay of treating her like a man. Meanwhile, they sold her building. They sold her building. This demon mayor is like the mayor of Chicago. This dog demon, this Edomite. Look at that demon. Look at the face of this demon. This Harvey mayor, Christopher Clark, this demon, this warlock. This is what they do. This is what these warlocks do. This is what these warlocks do, y'all. Let's continue.
With battery, Mayor Clark saying she hit the officer during the arrest.
I don't think that it's a good look for an alderperson to hit law enforcement officers. And I think that that's one of the stories here that need to be taken care of, because the simple fact is what she did. I don't think that she belongs in this position. The bottom line is she's an activist. She wants to be the man and fight against the man. She wants to be the government and fight against the government.
I did not hit an officer, push an officer on my way out of the council. Nobody should have to ingest physical behavior simply for an inquiry. And unfortunately, I digested that. But the bruise has gone away. The memory never will. And I'm simply pushing forward.
That means she's not saying what she's getting. She's going to get a cut. Don't think she ain't getting a cut. She getting a cut for what they did to her and her mother. Let's continue.
And after attendees were put out of the meeting, about 20 minutes past, they were let back in. The meeting resumed for about 30 minutes or so, and then it promptly ended. We will tell you that this is Chapman's second time being arrested, her third time being put out of a meeting because of disorderly conduct claims against her. We do know that Chapman and her supporters are continuing to call for federal investigation into the township's practices, and Mayor Christopher Clark himself. As the latest in Harvey, Nate Rogers, Fox 32 Chicago.
Yeah. Just like that demon mayor of Chicago. We got Mrs. Marilyn Edwards in the house. Tell Mr. Edwards I said hello. We got Federal Studio in the house. What's going on? And to everybody else tuning in to the show, make sure you like the video. All right. Let's get right to it. Let's get to the next one. We're not done yet. I have one more I want to show y'all before we get to leaving the blue states. Hold on 1 second. All right, let's get to this rally that's going on in Chicago. Yes, Mrs. Edwards, absolutely it was. Very, very disturbing what's going on in these Ibarasi places. All right, let's get right to it. Let's go.
Samantha, with the threat of an imminent National Guard deployment looming over the city this week, today's Labor Day march was about so much more than just workers' rights. Organizers estimating the turnout was around 1,000 people coming out in protest of the Trump administration, who they believe is prioritizing billionaires over workers. With the Haymarket Memorial as a backdrop, hundreds gathered in Chicago's Fulton River District today to kick off a Labor Day rally aimed squarely at President Donald Trump.
No troops in Chicago! No troops in Chicago!
Carving a path through Fulton Market, the West and South Loops, protesters made...
Only the entities and the deities is protesting out there. Only the entities and deities is protesting against those who are committing sin. They want to see the sin continue in Chicago. They want to see the sin continue in New York City. They want to see the sin continue in Los Angeles. They want to see the sin continue in Houston, in South Dallas, and, many other places. They want to see the sin continue. And this is what's causing the conflict. This is why people don't want to be around a lot of people, and rightfully so, because people are on demon time. Folks are losing their mind out here. You don't want to be out here and about all the time dealing with these entities, deities, different type of folks on different type of demon time. It's crazy. So this rally, all this is confusion. Let's continue.
Stops at 3 distinct locations, including a private investment firm and a Target, then stopping just short of a nearby Tesla dealership. All, they say, tied in one way or another. The president.
So they have an issue with Tesla. They have an issue with, other things that's going on. People upset with Tesla, people upset with Target, and people upset with the Equity Bank. So all you folks with money should remove yourself from these situations and let them starve out, since they don't have respect for people that's making money. Let's go.
Trump's agenda.
We're talking about prioritizing, the majority of this country, the vast majority, 99% of this country are working people. And the economy should work for working people.
Elected labor leaders, and everyday citizens converging in a day of action, just as the administration appears set to deploy hundreds of federal immigration agents into the city, possibly accompanied by National Guard troops.
Immigration is a big part of our history here in Chicago. I'm here to support basic.
Okay, ma'am, if you're here to support people, if you're here to support people from other countries, why don't they stay with you and live with you? Let's see how long that lasts. Let them stay in your house. Ma'am, let them stay in your house. They have to come correct. We can't go to other people's country and not go correctly. Let's continue.
Our democracy in the United States.
And while President Trump did not directly address Labor Day protests against his administration, the White House put out a statement today saying President Trump stands as a champion of the American worker, from surging native-born employment and rising blue-collar wages to innovative workforce initiatives like expanded apprenticeships and trade school funding. Today's rally was just one of many marches taking place across the area. Organizers in Lake and McHenry counties also hosting their own.
Breaking news, police are investigating a shooting near Montrose Harbor. A 27-year-old man was injured shortly after 5 tonight in a 4800 block of North Simmons Drive. Police tell us he was outside of a vehicle when someone walked up, opened fire. The victim is recovering from a gunshot wound to his arm.
As the city braces for an ICE surge and the possibility of the National Guard, Mayor Brandon Johnson joined the labor movement today to verbally fight back against the Trump administration.
Here we go.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago.
Mayor Brandon Johnson begins his Labor Day remarks with defiance, making it clear once again a surge of ICE agents and/or the National Guard are not welcome in Chicago.
The humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago.
Johnson spoke in front of a spirited crowd of several hundred people who marched in support of union workers and against the Trump administration. It follows a much quieter event over the weekend at City Hall, where the mayor signed an executive order called Protecting Chicago. It reaffirms the city's sanctuary city status and urges federal agents not to wear masks. Meantime, Naval Station Great Lakes in North Chicago is preparing to be the base of operations for more ICE agents.
We do intend to add more resources to those operations. I won't disclose the details.
Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation yesterday, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed ramped-up immigration enforcement in Illinois, but stopped short of saying the National Guard is coming too.
I think it goes hand in hand that first agents would be sent here in hopes by the administration that an incident erupts to further justify Trump calling out the National Guard.
Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia urges residents to stay calm and not provoke ICE agents. Former Education Secretary Arne Duncan says outreach workers with his anti-violence organization, Chicago Cred, are preparing to keep the peace.
Trump wants escalation. We cannot give him what he wants. We have to defend democracy here. That's what this is about.
Then why is it that so many shootings is going on in Chicago and you're not doing anything about it? Why there's so many shootings in Chicago and you're not doing anything about it? There's so many shootings in Chicago and they're not doing anything about it. They're attacking my channel again. These deities and entities. It's trying to get me off my square. It's not going to work. Let's get right to it. Let's get right to it now, to the video. Let's get right to it. They expect you to stay forever? Come on, stop it. All right, here we go, y'all. The video that you've been waiting for, that I did not watch, we're going to watch together in real time. The video that y'all need to see. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me get it ready. All right. Let's get right to it. All right. Let's get it set up. And here we go.
Tax blue states and moving to mostly red states in the South. There is a mass exodus of residents and businesses leaving high tax blue states and moving to mostly red states in the South. So which states lost the most residents and how much money did they take with them? Well, there's a new one-of-a-kind site where you can track.
All right, so before we get to the website, let me see if anybody else is saying anything in the chat on my phone, because I know the chat is not moving. Let me see if it's quiet, because I got to see what's going on with the chat. Okay. So yeah, the chat is quiet. Okay, so the chat is quiet. Just want to make sure everything's good. So you see what it says, population shift in blue states, all right? Let's get right to it. Let's rewind back.
There is a mass exodus of residents and businesses leaving high tax blue states and moving to mostly red states in the South. So which states lost the most residents and how much money did they take with them? Well, there's a new one-of-a-kind site where you can track these moving patterns yourself. And joining us this morning to discuss this and more money headlines is former Trump White House economic advisor Steve Moore. Good morning to you, Steve.
Hi, Jan. Good morning.
I was checking out the site this morning.
All right, before she get to it, like Mrs. Edwards said earlier about the other situation, yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation. I hope she sues the crap out of them and bankrupt those people that did her wrong. Anyway, let's continue to hear what former economic, advisor of Mr. Trump in his first term has to say.
Because it not only shows the migration patterns, but also tracks really the economic effects of all of these moves. And I thought this was really interesting to take a look at all the states that have lost not just residents.
Look at this, y'all. Look at what's number 10. Number 10, Connecticut, lost 117,000 of migration. Number 9, Virginia, 120,000. Number 8, Louisiana, 171,000. Maryland, number 7, 179. Pennsylvania, number 6, 181. Massachusetts, number 5, 283. That's a lot of people. 283. Number 4, New Jersey, 350. And some change, of course. Number 3, Illinois, 881. Number 2, California, 1 million and some change. And number 1, New York City, close to 2 million net domestic migration loss. Whoo-wee. Let's continue.
But all the money that those residents took with them. Here's the top 10 right here. The top 5, California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Massachusetts. They lost the most residents in a 10-year period between 2012 and 2022. But when you look at just how much personal income was lost, it is insane. Tell us how this was calculated.
So the site is called votewithyourfeet.net, and that's what Americans have been doing for the last 20 or 30 years. They're voting with their feet, and they're tending to vote against states with high taxes and cities with high taxes. And they're going to states like Texas, and they're going to states like Florida, and they're going to states like Tennessee. By the way,
let me rewind that back. Listen again.
Going for the last 20 or 30 years, they're voting with their feet, and they're tending to vote against states with high taxes and cities with high taxes. And they're going to states like Texas, and they're going to states like Florida, and they're going to states like Tennessee. By the way, I bet you can guess what those three states have in common. They have no income tax. So people are tending to flock to states that have low taxes, low crime, less regulation. And this is the most important trend that is happening in the United States that a lot of people aren't paying attention to. The two big winners, obviously, have been Texas and Florida, that both gained just in the last 10 years, 2 million additional people.
Let's rewind that back again. Let's hear what the man has to say. Listen.
United States that a lot of people aren't paying attention to. The two big winners, obviously, have been Texas and Florida, that both gained.
The two big winners have been Texas and Florida. Let's continue.
Gained just in the last 10 years, 2 million additional people over that decade. The two states that lost the most, New York, and this is the surprising one, Jen, California lost.
So he's saying the two biggest ones that lost financial population is New York. He's not surprised about New York. He said he's surprised about California. Let's continue.
2 million people, this is the first time in American history that California has been losing people. For decades and decades, people would flock to California. It was go west, young man. And now people are leaving. California's been a mess because of the wildfires, because of the high taxes, the regulation, and people are leaving. So one other quick thing that's really important for people to understand. Starting back in 2023, 2 years ago, for the first time in American history, the Southeast now is the dominant economic region.
Oh my goodness, he said it. Listen, put a 2 in the chat if you heard me say that the Southeast is the dominated economics in America. Put a 2 in the chat if you heard me say that. Let me rewind that back. He said it. Listen.
Really important for people to understand. Starting back in 2023, 2 years ago, for the first time in American history, the Southeast now is the dominant economic region. For the
2023, the Southeast, for the first time in American history, is the dominant of the economic of all time. Of all time. Listen again.
This is the regulation, and people are leaving. So one other quick thing that's really important for people to understand. Starting back in 2023, 2 years ago, for the first time in American history, the Southeast now is the dominant economic region. For the first 250 years of our country, it was always the Northeast, with Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, those big industrial cities. Now the place where the action is in those states in the Southeast.
And the reason why this is...
So the Northeast had it rain for a certain amount of time, and now the Southeast is the rain right now. Let me rewind that back again. Listen to what he said. Listen.
2023, 2 years ago, for the first time in American history, the Southeast now is the dominant economic region. For the first 250 years of our country, it was always the Northeast, with Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, those big industrial cities. Now the place where the action is in those states in the Southeast.
And the reason why this is also so important is because of the Electoral College. When you look at how many of those that have shifted away from California and New York and gone to some of the red states, that can make a significant difference every 4 years. And the money that was lost, I saw New York lost $111 trillion. Now, this is according to the IR.
Ooh, my goodness. Oh my goodness, they came up with the stats. Forever Studio, you see this? Mrs. Edwards, you see this? Those in the chat, do y'all see this? I paused it for a reason. I'm going to rewind it back a little bit. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is not a joke. Let me rewind it back, though. Listen again.
York and gone to some of the red states, that can make a significant difference every 4 years. And the money that was lost, I saw New York lost $111 trillion. Now, this is according to the IRS. This is according to the receipts from the IRS of those, of essentially the.
Where's Don Godito at? Might have to send a message to him on his channel. Look at the type of money Massachusetts lost, New Jersey, Illinois, California, New York, the top 5. Y'all see this? Wow. Let's continue.
Income from those residents that left. Look at California, $102 trillion. That is insane when you take a look at it from this perspective, Steve.
It is, and by the way, people should go to the website. It's votewithyourfeet.net, and you can. It's very interactive. It's user friendly. You can just click on one state and click on another state, and it'll show you the moving vans and the dollars that are leaving one state for another. So you can see that these numbers are really unbelievable with the amount of money that has been lost.
Let me get that ready. Vote for your feet. Let me see if it's still. Let's see what they're saying now. Vote with. Let me see again. Let me rewind back. Vote with your feet. Okay, let me get this. Vote with your feet. Vote with your feet. Let's see if I can get some. Let me see if I can get something going. Do I have to sign up for it? Let me see. This is not helping. I think this is it. Okay. Wow. Okay, so Texas is the first state. Let me see. Let me choose something here. Okay. So a lot of people from Florida moved to Texas, then from Texas to Florida. That makes sense. Let me do something here. Hold on. Let me do something here. Okay. Yep, I got it ready. All right, let's continue.
The moving vans and the dollars that are leaving one state for another. So you can see that these numbers are really unbelievable with the amount of money that has been lost in states like New York and California, both of which have lost over $100 billion of income just from people moving. And that has depressed their tax base and led to a lot fewer businesses. The big winner, Jan, which when it comes to the flow of money, has been Florida. Florida has gained $200 billion just in the last 10 years from people.
Wow. Did you hear that? Who he says was number one? Who he says number one economically? Who did he say is number one economically in America over the last decade or so? Who's number one? Let me see who gets it in the chat. Let's see who gets it in the chat. I'm waiting for the answer in the chat. Let's see who gets the answer. We're not talking about the last 5 years. We're talking about a decade, 13 years. The last 13 years. Who has it been? I'm waiting for somebody to put the answer in the chat. Let me rewind it back again so you can. I already know the answer. You should be knowing the answer by now because I talk about it so many times. Anyway, listen.
When it comes to the flow of money, has been Florida. Florida has gained $200 billion just in the last 10 years from people moving into Florida from other states. And think about that. That's an enormous amount of money. I mean, you've got billionaires like Jeff Bezos who've moved into Florida.
Right.
And that makes a big difference in terms of their tax base. So it's an important trend. We'll see how that continues. And you're right, it's going to affect the politics as well, because we believe Florida and Texas are on pace to gain each state, another 4 congressional seats. And those seats are going to probably be lost in New York and California.
Right. I think I might have said trillion.
Yep. Yeah, there we go. Y'all waking up. Mrs. Edwards got it first. Keystone got it second. Y'all got it correct. Very good. You're paying attention to detail. That's good to see. And I know Forever Studio's busy. Yeah, so this stuff is real, y'all. Let's go.
Definitely billion, but you know what? Still a ton of money overall. Rent and housing prices also increasing with the population growth because of, supply and demand. But I did see a study that showed many places where there's been a population decrease and yet a steady rise in rent, specifically Chicago, Los Angeles, and Detroit. Why is that?
Uh-oh.
Well, this is one of the other big issues that America is struggling with right now is housing. And how do we find housing for affordable housing for people who want to buy a home? Jan, I have 2 sons that are in their early 30s, and they cannot afford to buy a house anymore. That's when people, generally start to begin a family and buying a house. And so what we found was that there are 2 factors that really affect the price of a home in an urban area. Number one, rent control. Rent control is a terrible policy because it discourages people from building housing if the government's going to restrict what you can charge for it. And so rent control is a disaster. The other thing is a lot of cities have zoning laws that restrict the ability for builders to build new housing.
Did you hear that? Now, why the mayor of Chicago don't talk about that? Why these Eberassis don't talk about that? Well, this man's explaining to you what's going on. Let's go.
Especially multi-family homes. So rent control and zoning are things that really have hurt cities in terms of their ability to provide the availability of homes, and that makes it much more expensive. If you restrict the supply of something, Jan, as you know, what happens to the price? It goes up.
To your point, Texas, which we saw that influx of a lot of those residents leaving the blue states headed to Texas, Tennessee, and the South. Houston, Austin, and San Antonio, very little increases because there's almost no zoning restrictions there and government price controls. To your point, those are some of the best places right now because they are seeing that influx of more residents and yet not the increase in housing.
Yep. I mean, and Texas, by the way, makes it illegal to have rent control. And so that has made housing very affordable. By the way, Austin and San Antonio are 2 of the biggest, fastest growing cities in America. Wow. And yet they actually have affordable housing.
Yeah.
There you have it. There you have it. You're hearing it. Let's continue.
Finally, I want to ask you very quickly about trade because we love to talk about these tariff deals. You've said before there is no tariff-free lunch. How do you feel about the negotiations right now with China? Where do you see that landing?
Now, China's tough to figure out because you never know where the Chinese are going to go next, and they may have a handshake deal, but it's a tough one to get them to. You have to have trust but verify, as Trump would say. But the big story this week, as you know, Jan, is what has happened with the deal with the Europeans. I mean, remember 3 months ago, the Europeans said we're not going to negotiate with Trump.
Right.
Forget it. You know, we're not even going to the bargaining table. And they have now signed a deal that's very much in America's interest. It levels the playing field. And as you know, I'm not a big tariff guy, but I have to say Trump has used the tariff threat in a way to force these countries to the bargaining table in a way that actually will create more jobs for Americans.
That was so remarkable, I thought, with Ursula von der Leyen, there with the EU and Trump talking about the deal that was made.
Ever since that deal been made, it's a lot of people from the UK and a lot of people from America have been traveling to and fro, to these particular places. So, yeah, the deal definitely went through. Let's continue.
I mean, how monumental was that for the United States?
Which one are you talking about?
The one with EU, the head of the EU, Ursula von der Leyen. It was tremendous.
Giant, as I just said, the European Union said we don't want to negotiate with Trump. We'll never do it. And they realized, hey, we need to have access to America's $20 trillion consumer market. Yeah. And the only way they could get that, because remember, Trump threatened them with a 50% tariff, 50%. And that would have destroyed the European economy. Now it looks like we're back on a good track. There's still about 3 or 4 major areas we have to get these trade deals done. But it's like dominoes. One is falling after another, and all these countries now, every time we get a trade deal with one country, it puts pressure on others to come to the table. And so this seems to be working out. I'm still a little nervous about it, but so far so good.
Former White House Trump economic advisor Steve Moore. Great to see you, sir. Hope you have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Thanks.
All right. Listen to this.
There is a mass exodus of residents and businesses leaving high-tax blue states and moving to mostly red states in the South. So which states lost the most residents and how much money did they take with them?
So we listened to this already.
There is a...
We already listened to that. So I want to say to everybody that's tuning in, thank you so much for tuning into the show. This is eye-opening for everybody. That's my first time listening to that. And, hey, this has been a good one. It's been a good one. It's getting surreal in these blue states, Yeah, it's a lot of people that's going through it. A lot of people's going through it different ways, y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. It's tough out here. I ain't gonna lie. It's tough. However, appreciate those who tune into the show. Thank you for liking the video. You know what I'm saying? It's been a minute since I did a live stream like this. So make sure you like the video. Looking forward to seeing what you got to say in the comment section. This may not be the finale. However, it's the finale for now. So if you're watching from the playback, I'm looking forward to seeing what you got to say in the comment section. So be mindful, cognizant. I'll holler at you soon. Appreciate you for viewing. Keystone, member in the house. Mrs. Edwards, a member in the house with Mr. Edwards. And Forever Studio, another member in the house. And to everybody else tuning in to the show, thank you for participating. Those who's viewing in the clouds, make sure you hit the like button on your way out. I'll talk with y'all real soon. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.